Sukhihoto, and welcome to the Buddhist Mahavihara's Facebook page. We are here at the Buddhist Mahavihara's Dhammadana series. We are here this Sunday to listen to one of another very interesting topic. It's called the Buddhist concept of time, which will be expounded to us by our friend from the UK. He's been with us a couple of times here at the Dhammadana series, and we're actually very glad that this guest has accepted our invitation to speak this evening. Let me introduce to you Dr. Sunil Kariyakarawana from the UK to join us this evening. Good evening, Dr. Sunil. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
You must be very tired, especially rushing back from Amsterdam in Holland to get back to the UK to do this Dhamma talk, and we're very thankful for you to take up this opportunity to speak to us this evening.
My
Um,
pleasure. Yeah.
for those of you who don't know Dr. Sunil, let me quickly read his profile. Dr. Sunil was born in Sri Lanka. He entered the University of Kelaniya and obtained in Colombo and obtained his first class BA honors degree in linguistics, literature and philosophy in 1983. In 1985, he won the Commonwealth Postgraduate Scholarship offered by the Commonwealth Association of Canada and completed his master's in theoretical linguistics at the University of Ottawa. In 1987, he was offered a teaching assistantship by the Cornell University in New York and obtained his PhD in theoretical linguistics and cognitive studies in 1992. In the same year, he was offered a senior lecturer's position at the University of Kelaniya in Sri Lanka, where he worked till April 2000. In April 2000, he won two international postdoctoral fellowships, one to take up research in child language acquisition at the Rikyo University of Tokyo, Japan, and the other by the Association of Commonwealth Universities in the UK to take up research in clinical linguistics at the University College London. Having completed both research projects in 2002, he joined the Department of Language and Communication Science at City University of London, teaching clinical linguistics to BSc students. In the same year, he migrated to the UK under the Highly Skilled Migrant Program. Now, throughout his academic career, he has spent time studying and practicing Buddhist meditation, and Dr. Sunil has been offering meditation to professionals in government departments in the UK, including the NHS and the Home Office. Now, Dr. Sunil is currently the Buddhist advisor at St. Michael's College, Cardiff University. He's also the director of Kalyana Mitra of the Buddhist Chaplaincy Support Group. She's also serving as the first Buddhist chaplain to Her Majesty's British Armed Forces for the past 12 years. He's also an executive governing council member representing the UK to the International Buddhist Confederation, IBC India. He's also the lecturer in Buddhist spiritual care at the Free University in Holland. So that was the doctor's profile, and without much ado, I would like to invite Dr. Sunil to speak this evening on the Buddhist concept of time. Doctor?
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you very much. Really appreciate reading a long profile, and also I should also salute, offer my tribute to the great work you do, the Buddhist Mahavihara, venerable monks, and yourself. You have been really persistent in your Dhammadana series, which is wonderful. So today I'm going to actually talk to you about some very interesting topic, the Buddhist concept of time. As you all know, time is something that has been studied from many different perspectives, from scientific perspectives, philosophical perspectives, and so on. So, as we know, our great scientists in the world, Minkowski, Einstein, and even our good friend Stephen Hawking. All of these, physicists have actually studied science. And then there are philosophers who have studied science in both Eastern and Western philosophies. And actually, what is really at the heart of this today's topic is what the Buddha, actually the Buddhist revelation of time and temporality. So this is such an important topic, and perhaps if you recall the great statement, almost which appears in the Buddhist text, in the Pali Canon quite often. The Buddha actually says, Tasmatiya bhikkhave rupang Atitanagata Pachupanna Ajatang va Bahidda va Yandure Santike va Olarikang va Sukumang va. And there lot of epithets have been used to talk about time. As you know, every language has a temporal word and time denoting adjectives. So atita, in the Pali, three Pali words are atita, vartamana, and anagata. In English, the past, present, and future. So every language has actually these three times. So what I'm actually going to draw your attention today is that the Dhamma language, however much even the Pali language has this, Dhamma language does not have, it uses in a very different way. Time is used as atita, anagata, pachupanna. And this is really important because most people don't realize this, because the word pachupanna has been translated as present. The moment you actually translate that as present, and we are subscribing to the same linguistic temporality. So atita, anagata, vartaman. Now, why doesn't the Buddha use the word vartaman? I mean, this question has been raised by many, but sadly, a lot of commentarial literature, pachupan is being used and referred to as the present. So now, actually, why then the Buddha did not use the word vartaman? And why did he use pachupan? And the pachupan is very interestingly connected to the core Buddhist principle, that is paticca. So pachupan means actually, basically pachaya, avijja pachaya sankhara, pachaya is connected to the paticca. So after the Buddha's enlightenment, he reflected on the paticca, and he came to fully realize this temporal, time blind spot that we all subscribe to. And that's why he actually, deviated, used it as a point of departure to denote that it is actually, Pachupanna is not present moment. I mean, sadly, most people interpret it as the present moment, the present. But what is then Pachupanna? Pachupanna means the, dependently arisen. Pachaya uppanna, conditionally formed. So when the present is conditionally formed, what happens? So the present tense completely disappears. So what happens when the present tense disappears? The existence or substantialist view of the sassata ditti disappears. So now, let's for a moment think of a world where there is no present tense. When I started this talk, now that is past actually. Now, what I'm going to say, the next word is the future. So what if the present and is skewed by the past and the future? So then the present diminishes and disappears. If the present is taken to be causally formed, causally conditioned, and then the same thing applies to the past and the same thing applies to the future. And in fact, therefore, what happens is the entire time frame disappears. Now, there you see a time cannot be taken out of the mental domain. It is in the mind domain that the time actually comes into being. And when the time comes into being, and then the space comes into being, and this is why the Buddha says Atitanagata Pachupanna, and the Ajatangva Bahidava, internal, external, Olarikangva Sukumangva, gross or subtle, Yangdure Santikeva, Hinangva Panitangva, either like or dislike, low or high, or gross, far and near. Now you can see that all these 11 facets are directly connected to the world, and that is the world. And when somebody actually transcends the world, goes beyond the worldly realm, what happens is one actually comes to realize the limitations of the world. What is this world? This world is actually created by our 6 sense faculties. So what are the 6 sense faculties? Our eye, ear, nose, tongue, the tactile body, and the mind. So this is why the Buddha says, actually, this whole world appears in these 6 senses. Chasu loko samuppanno, chasu kubbati santava, channameva upadaya, chasu loko vihanyati. The Buddha says, chasu loko samuppanno, this whole world actually appears or comes into being in these 6. Chasukubbati Santavan, the whole association is with these 6 senses. Channameva Upadaya, having actually grasped this 6, Chasu Loko Vihanyati, the entire world actually gets tired of this. So that really very clearly shows that we have no experience beyond these 6 senses. So therefore, the time, space, everything, all the 11 facets, what are the 11, facets? Past, present, future, internal, external, gross, subtle, near, far, like, dislike. All these 11 are actually connected to our mind. And this is how this becomes part of the Paticca Samuppada. And this was the Buddha's reflection. And on the day of his enlightenment, he saw this Pacchaya connection in the Sutta Pacchaya Pachupanna in the Samyutta Nikaya. Very clearly, Buddha shows whether it is actually known to you or unknown to you. Upadava tathagatana, anupadava tathagatana, titava sadhatu dhamma titata dhamma niyamata. Yadidam Paticca Samuppada. So this is how the Paticca Samuppada has been explain whether the Buddha, or whether we realize it or not, whether the Buddhas were born or not. This Paticcasamuppada nature exists in the world. So what is then what is then to be realized about the time is paticcasamuppanna. If something is paticcasamuppanna or dependently arisen, and then it is subject to these other conditions as well. So what are the other conditions? The Buddha actually gives 5 main aspects to it. Aniccang sankatang paticca samuppanna, kaya dhammang, vaya dhammang, viraga dhammang, nirodha dhammang. So anicca, so it is actually subject to anicca. Now there again, there is a vast misunderstanding about the anicca. A lot of people think anicca is the impermanent nature of an existing thing. If that was the case, then the anicca does not necessarily lead to suffering. Why? Because when the pandemic ends, it is actually going to give us more happiness. So, but the Buddha's discovery was yada niccang tan dukkhang, that which is impermanent, necessarily lead to suffering. Yan dukkhang tadanatta, if that which is dukkha is necessarily not non-self. So therefore these 3 characteristics of existence, they are not separate entities. They are 3 facets of the same reality in the world. And this is what is this was the real discovery of the Buddha. So therefore this word pachuppanna is such an important, such an interesting, such a profound word. And that if we really understand this word, and then that opens up. And in the Dharma, it opens up a huge door to the realization of Dhamma. What do you understand when you understand Pachuppanna? You understand Idappacceta. So Idappacceta is the is this nature of the Paticcasamuppada. Now, in the same sutta, Paccaya Pachuppanna Sutta, the Buddha says, Ya tatra tatata, avitadata, ananyadata, idappaccheta. Now, the Paticcasamuppada has been, does have these 4 essential qualities, essential characteristics. And these characteristics are tatata, objectivity, avitadata, invariability, ananyadata, exceptionlessness. There is no exception to this. And the last one is idappaccheta. Idappaccheta is when this is. Iti imasming sati idang hoti. So iti imasming sati idang hoti. Now when we apply this theory to time, now we can easily say avijja paccaya sankhara. Now if you take time to be a sankhara, now we just say aniccang sankatang paticcasamuppanna. So the time is anicca, impermanent, sankatang, fabricated, paticcasamuppanna, dependently arisen, kaya dhammang. Kaya dhammang is again, it's actually, there is no solid entity or existence of it. Vaya dhammang, it is of the nature of dispensing, or via. And viraga dhamma. So therefore when one realizes its nature, true nature, one actually become disenchanted, dispassionate, with this viraga dhammang, nirodha dhammang, which is the nibbanic, path. So, what I really wanted to impart in this, presentation today is this idea that though there is past, present, future in every language, we all subscribe to this time. In the dharmic language, there is no time. The temporality is an illusion. It is, it is actually, if it is dependently arisen, it is subject to avijja, paccaya, sankhara. So it is because of our ignorance that we subscribe to the past, present, future. And then the Buddha says, people actually form these views, in the Sabbasava Sutta, the Buddha says the channang dittinang anyataran ditting apajjati. So basically, when somebody has not does not have the ability to go beyond the time or temporality, one gets really stuck to this idea. Have I been in the past ahosing, ahosing me atitang maddana, kinnuko ahosing atita maddana, katannuko ahosing atita maddana, king hutwa king ahosing atita maddana. So have I been in the past? How have I been in the past? What have I been in the past? And having been what have I have come to this or that or the other. Now all of this is part of the ditthi, and the same thing applies to the present moment. In the present moment, also one questions, ahamasmi, am I being, do I exist? How do I exist? Being what, how, what as what form do I exist, etc., etc. So am I going to be in the future, and so on and so forth. So in these 15 different ways, one form the doubt. And the Buddha says the Sutava Arya Savako, the instructed Arya Shravaka, understands this time, and as a result of that, he is now in a position to transcend this time and temporality, so that he will be actually crossing over the world. He will not be stuck to the world. So though it looks like a very simple topic, the time and the temporality in Buddhism actually takes us into the depth of the Buddha's teaching. And this is why this same statement, tasmatiya bhikkave rupang atitanagata pachupanna. Now, we always have a form understood in the past, present, and future, either internal or external, near or far, like or dislike, gross or subtle. And these aspects, we subscribe to these through our delusion and our ignorance. And this is why the Buddha says, Tasmatiya bhikkave rupang atitanagata pachupannang ajjatang va bahidda va yandure santike va olarikang va sukumang va kallannutan samanipasdung etang mama. Is it appropriate to say that this is me? Eso hamas me? Is this me? Is this my self? Eso meatta? And the monks actually very clearly understand this reality phenomena. Say no hetang bante, not venerable sir. So now this section appears in the Pali Canon quite a few times, almost every sutta where the aggregates are discussed. Paticcasamuppada is discussed, three characteristics of existence discussed, and so on and so forth. So therefore, my invitation to you, Dhamma friends, is to reflect on this word Pachupanna. Now, this is actually a deep topic. This is not an easy topic. I mean, any even theory of time is not an easy one. It is, it is part of the physical sciences, and and it becomes really highly philosophical and scientific. So, but what the Buddha did was, the Buddha was able to transcend this delusion, and see it as a dependently arisen aspect. So this is why in the Bhaddekaratta Sutta, if you remember, Pachuppannang chayo dhammang tattha tattha vipassati. Now, for somebody to practice vipassana, one really has to understand this nature of Pachupanna, that is dependently arisen nature. So, for example, if you are seeing a form through your eyes, and immediately, you come to realize that this is dependently arisen, and there is a piece of time in it, piece of space in it, piece of all of those 11 aspects are in it. So therefore, the Sutavachako Arya Savako, and the Buddha says the well instructed, well instructed Aryan, what he does is he rupe nibindati. He becomes dispassionate about the form. Why? The form that appears on your eyes or ears, etc., etc., are actually dependently arisen. If something is dependently arisen, it is of the nature of this anicca, sankhata, etc. So therefore, Sutavachako Arya Savako rupe nibindati. So he becomes actually disenchanted with the form. When one becomes actually disenchanted, then one becomes dispassionate about it. Nibindang virajyati. And viratta vimuchyati. And then when one becomes actually disengaged with it, and one actually is able to let go of it. So now this is actually a deep topic, and I was just trying to capture the meaning of this Bhaddekara, I mean the Pachupan, that is actually spelled out in 4 Bhaddekaratta Suttas. Pachupannancha yo dhammang tattha tattha vipassati. So where one cannot really practice vipassana, one is not able to practice vipassana if one really does not understand these 11 facets, which in turn connected to the time and temporality and space, and so on. So when you see near and far, like, dislike, all of these are actually in one way or the other connected to the world. So this is the worldly phenomena. I know this is a bit of a hair splitting, difficult topic, but then I thought it'd be really interesting for us to reflect on this, especially those of us who actually want to practice vipassana. I think I have spoken for about half an hour. So perhaps it would be would it not be a good idea, Leslie, to to let people ask questions. What do you think?
Yeah, Doctor, but I think there are no questions at the moment. I see one question. Let me just post that to you, but Doctor.
Okay, now that's a really good question, very relevant question. In the modern context where everything is subject to time, how do we not pay attention to it? Actually, that is absolutely right. So we cannot avoid that at all. Buddhism is not paying attention to things, but it becomes aware. What the Buddha wants us is not to sort of ignore something. Now, if you remember Satipatthana, Mahasatipatthana Sutta, the Buddha says actually everything need to be paid attention to. So he says saragam va chittang saragam chittanti pajanati. Pajanati is a very special word. What it really means is know with wisdom, aware of, with wisdom. We all, I think the whole Buddhism is about being aware, being awake to the reality, rather than actually rejecting the world. And the Buddha actually gave a really nice analogy, and he said I'm like a lotus. Lotus, where does the lotus grow? Lotus grows in the mud. But that lotus really doesn't get afflicted or attached to the mud. It springs out from the mud, and it actually blossoms without touching it. And there is a beautiful stanza, which I like very much. It says, Pundarikang yatha vaggu toyena nupalipati. Just like the lotus, which does not touch the water, the mud. Nupalito mi lokena. I am not attached to the world. Tasma buddhosmi brahman. And this was said to, I think, Brahmayu. Where when he was asked, who are you? And, are you a god? Are you this? Are you that? And the Buddha said, I'm none of that. And and then he said, yes, are you not a human being? And he said, no, I'm not an ordinary human being either. So the reason being, this wisdom, this awareness, this ability to penetrate into the reality. So when you penetrate into the reality, you really don't have to be attached to it. So, but you really have to pay attention. You have to keep a diary. You have to do everything with the time. I had to fly this morning from one country to another to deliver this talk. So actually, so, and I hope that answers your question. Buddhism is not about not paying attention, but being aware, but still dealing with the world. And the Buddha actually gives again another really nice expression. I live unattached with the world. Um, you know uh, Asansatto, no sansatto. So I'm not attached to it. So and what we really require is this, with wisdom. And this is what vipassana is. Actually, vipassana is not about escaping the world. And some people, and even I have heard some monks even say, oh, you have to escape the world. No, thankfully the Buddha has done the job for us. You're not escaping the world, but you realize the world. and that realization is the one which actually transcend this worldly realms. So thank you for the question. Any more questions?
Just, Doctor, following up from your explanation, if we are as lay people trying to live in this world, how do we then relate to subjects or appointments or whatever it is? As you say, if you're not attached, I guess that concept only works if you're really not attached to anything, which means you are basically a monastic. It doesn't really apply to people like you and me who are actually still lay people who are attached to a lot of things on a daily basis. How do we then marry the two, Doctor?
Very good question. Yes, a really, really good question. I mean, now this is where the subtlety of the Buddhist teaching is. The Buddha. I mean, if you really look at his discovery, there were many traditions of ascetics and who were trying to escape the world. And you remember these 5 ascetics that who actually even left him. Yeah. And they dogmatically took these teachings, but the Buddha actually left that, and the Buddha actually chose what he called middle path. And the middle path, Majjhima Patipada, that is actually not, middle path is not a middle point of the two extremes either. The middle path is realization. Now remember, in the Sabbasava Sutta, the Buddha says, Janato ahang bhikkhave passato asavanang kayang vadami. No ajanato, no apassato. So I'm actually, I say this teaching is for the one who knows and one who sees it. And in the process, actually, what we really want to know is to, first thing is, understand where we are. I mean, when you know that you are in the mud, you can still be in the mud and do your, you have to, you have to actually get down to the muddy, paddy fields and for your survival and everything. But you know that you are in the mud, and knowing that is the most important thing. So I mean, now remember the Buddha himself, after his enlightenment, I mean, he could have just easily escaped the entire world and gone into a jungle and lived the rest of his life. No, he didn't do that. What he did was he went out and he associated with people and helped people, and probably maybe even Balananda must have kept a diary for him as well. And and he would have said, Bante, venerables, you have to be such and such place, such and such a time, etc., etc. So and that is that there is no, you can actually use the knife when you know how to use it. The problem is we don't know how to use it, and we actually use the knife and we cut ourselves, and we destroy ourselves. And I mean, this is again the important topic of kusala. Kusala is like skillful means. Now that is a very important word in the Buddhist text. Kusalancha pajanati, kusala moolancha, akusalancha pajanati, akusala moolancha. When you really know, kusala comes from, I'm told that comes from sort of a type of a grass. When you actually pull the grass in the wrong way, what happens is it cut your hand, cut your fingers. So one who really knows that this grass, the nature of it is to cut, and it knows exactly how to hold it. And the Buddha gives a similar example with a snake. If you want to actually hold a snake, there is a point where you have to hold it. If you hold the snake from the tail, you know what happens. It will bite you. So and this word kusala, therefore, this skillful means the skills and abilities for one to understand it and deal with it in such a way that you are not attached. Again, not attached does not mean actually leaving the world at all. It means, it really means the realization. You remember the advice of the Buddha, you know, um, for the monks. And when you actually, you have to live in the world, you have to sustain, you have to eat, you have to dress, you have to have a shelter over your head, you have to have medicine in case of an illness. So you use all of this with wisdom. Patisankaya yoniso patisevami. Yeah. So patisankaya yoniso means actually, having reflected, having contemplated, having really realized its true nature, you can use it. What normally the world does is, world actually does not use a thing, it actually abuses things, and that is the difference.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, I think there are no more questions this evening. We've come to the end of this evening's Dhamma sharing. So we take this opportunity, Doctor, to thank you, and we are actually very grateful for you to always oblige to our request to give a Dhamma talk, and also especially today that you had to rush back to the UK from Holland for this Dhamma talk, and still obliges. So on behalf of the monks and the Committee of Management of the Buddhist Mahavihara, let me take this opportunity to thank you, Dr. Sunil, for this wonderful sharing. And also to our sponsors this evening, thank you for sponsoring this evening's Dhamma sharing so that we all can benefit. And also the viewers who are joining us at both the BMV Facebook page as well as the TPCM's Facebook page. I hope you understood what Dr. Sunil was talking about in terms of the Buddhist concept of time. And if you do have any questions, you can always email us and I'll forward the questions to Dr. Sunil, who then can maybe explain to you via email. So with that, we will take a break actually for the next 2 weeks, next week at least, next Friday and next Sunday. There will be no Dhamma talks because we're actually celebrating our Sinhala New Year. And I also understand Dr. Sunil is going to Sri Lanka for a couple of weeks as well. So have a pleasant trip to Sri Lanka and a safe trip to Sri Lanka, Dr. Sunil. And we will see everyone in 2 weeks' time. So Sukhi Hotu and have a good and pleasant evening.
Thank you.